In today's video, we're going over lighting tips when teaching a live stream class. Hey dancers, welcome to Dance Tech with JHsu, the channel where dancers become more proficient and efficient in the digital space. With everyone teaching online now, whether that's on Zoom, Google Meet, Facebook Live, Microsoft Teams, etc., having good video quality for your live stream is important. If you're a studio, it's a way to stand out from other businesses. And even if you're teaching at a school, it's nice if your students can see you clearly. This is part one of 2 videos where I'm going to break down some tips to make your live stream video better. In part 1, we're talking about lighting, which will help with how bright or dark your video is. Part 2, we'll be talking about cameras, which will help with the quality of your image. These tips are assuming you're currently using a laptop webcam, which in general are terrible. If you have a better camera already, awesome, then what I'm going to cover today will make your video even better. But if you want to learn about upgrading your camera, stay tuned for part 2, where I'll be talking about camera options when it comes to teaching online classes. And before we start, make sure you check out my playlist to see all the videos I've created to help your Zoom class go smoother. I don't plan on getting into the nitty-gritty of lighting concepts in this video. The goal is to give you some practical tips on how to improve the quality of your video when teaching online. Once everyone has figured out Zoom, I plan on doing a whole series of videos on lighting and camera settings and techniques for creating dance films, but that is not what we're doing today. But if you're interested in that, make sure you leave a comment and let me know so I can start making that content. That being said, we will be touching on some lighting concepts, but I'm going to try and make it as easy to digest as possible. There really are 2 main concepts I want to talk about today. Number 1, there's no such thing as too much light. Okay, this is not quite true, but as a general rule of thumb, the more light you can introduce into your video, the better. If there isn't enough light in the scene, then it's going to be hard to see you. However, if you have a crappy webcam like my laptop, sometimes too much light is still a thing, as you can see when I went outside. So if you have a desk lamp that you can turn on and put next to your computer, or if you can open window blinds to let in more light, that will usually help. I say usually because it also depends on how far away you are from the light and where your light is coming from, which we will talk about in my next point. Number 2, flatten your dynamic range. Wait, I thought you said point 2 was about where your light is coming from. I know, calm down, let me explain. First, what is dynamic range? Without getting too technical, it's basically the difference between the brightest and darkest parts of your image. Imagine a stage with a white brick wall and a single performer on stage. If we shine a bright white light onto the wall but nothing on the performer, that creates a silhouette. In that situation, the light on the wall is so bright and the lack of light on the performer makes them so dark, all we see is a black shadow on stage. A camera with better dynamic range might be able to still see patterns and textures of the brick and some definition in the performer's body. A camera with not as good dynamic range would see a solid white wall and a solid black silhouette. If we wanted to see more of the dancer, then we would either need to shine a light on the dancer or dim the light on the wall to decrease the dynamic range in the scene. Hopefully that kind of made sense. I started to get a little nerdy there. I apologize. I just like talking about this stuff and I will start just rambling and okay, I'm gonna stop now. So what does that mean for my Zoom class and what does that have to do with where your light is? Webcams have terrible dynamic range, so the flatter you can make your image, the better. For dance films, we often want shadows to make things more dramatic or accent the body, but when you're teaching, you just want your students to see you clearly. In practical terms, what this means is generally you want to face the brightest source of light in the room. That will make you the brightest thing in the video and eliminate a lot of shadows. So if you have windows in your room, try to face the window. If you have your back to the window, you're introducing a ton of shadows into the scene, including you. Also, side note, in a situation where you are backlit and the light is shining into the camera, things like smudges and fingerprints will become much more visible and also decrease the quality of your video. So make sure you clean your camera lens once in a while. If you're in a situation where you are backlit or you just need to introduce more light into the room, there are lots of affordable video lights online. Everyone's needs will be a little different depending on the size of the room you're teaching in and how far away you'll be from the camera. Just know that in general, the closer you can be to the light, the better, and the farther away you are, the more power you'll need to still light you clearly. Also, before you go buying lights, try and see what you already have in the house that might work. Using regular lamps and house lights could work really well, and if it's still not bright enough, try try taking the lampshade off the light. I personally use these two Fositan LED lights when I teach, and I highly recommend them if you're looking to buy lights. It comes with 2 lights, 2 light stands, 2 power adapters, and 2 carrying cases for around $125 as of this recording. You can also buy batteries for them so you don't have to worry about being close to an outlet. I love these and I use them for teaching, filming dance inside studios and outside at night, and even some interviews. When I teach at home, I'll place one on each side of my camera. I also have friends who have purchased ring lights, and Funky Bees Fitness on Instagram even uses a work light by Powersmith. Now, if you're familiar with lighting, you're probably wondering why I haven't mentioned quality of light yet. When we say light is hard or soft, we're talking about how gradual the transition is between light and dark areas on the subject. Softer light has a more gradual transition and is more flattering, and the bigger the light is relative to you, the softer the light will be. However, like I had mentioned earlier, for things like teaching on Zoom, I don't think you need to worry about that when the priority is making sure your students can see you clearly. That's it for this video, everyone. I hope you found it helpful. Stay tuned for part 2 where I'll be talking about upgrading your camera to make your video even better. In the meantime, I would love to hear what your current lighting and camera setup is and where you teach from, so let me know in the comments. Make sure you like this video, hit the subscribe button so you know when new videos come out, and I'll see you next time. 5, 6, 7, 8.